Okay. Are we recording? Okay. Welcome to our CTS projects and project management session today. Nicole Decker and I are going to talk really about the evolution of projects that we have going on today and how CTS is working to improve our current project processes. So just to give you some background, I'm Sean Moriarty. I'm Chief Technology Officer here at SUNY Oswego, and I'm a white male with graying hair in my early 60s, I like to still think. And I work with Nicole Decker. Nicole?
Hi, I'm Nicole Decker. I'm Associate Director for Client Support and Communication in CTS, and I am also graying, but will not reveal my age.
Nicole's still young, and you're not that gray. You're not gray at all. But anyway, so let me just say, Nicole, I'm running the slides from my computer right here. So if you want me to go and change anything, just feel free. And just to give a little bit of background, whoops. What we really want to talk about is some of the background and where project management fits into our IT service management and the way that we think of delivering services inside campus technologist services, which is what CTS means. And Nicole will go into what IT service management is and how we've moved to this new system. And then between Nicole and I, we'll talk about the projects that we have going on inside CTS now and where we're focusing some of our efforts to go and to deliver on the strategic plans that we have on campus and how we're going to support. And then we'll talk about how we're working in project management and how we're looking to go and to improve and become more effective and efficient as we go and deliver these projects and help departments utilize technology to get the most value out of our investments. I'm going to hand over to Nicole.
Okay, first off, we're going to talk a little bit about IT service management and what that means in the context of IT organizations. So ITSM stands for IT service management, and it is a broad definition of all the end-to-end planning we do in regards to IT services. So right from the beginning stages of planning through design, delivery, and then once it's in operations, we have continued maintenance of it. And part of this is to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the business. So there are lots of things in IT that we can work on, but we need to make sure that we're fulfilling the needs of business and our context, teaching and learning, and the administrative components needed for that. So we have been in ITSM department since 2013 when we first started down the ITSM path. And to give you kind of that's a high level definition, but to give you a more concrete example, you can think of the multi-factor authentication service that we set up in the spring of last year. That was a requirement and a business need from SUNY as we were transitioning to the DLE Brightspace project. So we needed to sit down and plan this out. There was a concrete deadline for us. We needed to design the infrastructure behind the scenes on how that worked. We needed to push it in, test it, and then push it into operations. And now that it's been in operations for almost a year, we are continually maintaining it. So that's just one example. We've got a slew of services that fall into this framework, but that's hopefully helps give you an idea of what that IT service management means. Okay, next slide, Sean. So the benefits of using or being an ITSM department is several. So one of the frameworks that falls under ITSM is this is something called ITIL. and that stands for Information Technology Infrastructure Library. It's a mouthful. But essentially what it comes down to is a non-prescriptive way of having certain processes in place to ensure best practices within IT. So it is a very large framework, and we have adopted actually quite a few components of it, not all of it, but quite a few. But the ones that I think resonate with our users the most are probably a process called incident management and another one called service request fulfillment. So incident management, you can think of calling the help desk and because something isn't working. So we call that an incident. And part of the framework suggests that when you have an incident, you just don't put a ticket in, but it's kind of continuously monitored. And so with every ticket that comes in, there is an impact and a priority. So some examples of an incident could be something like like your computer can't print. One individual, the impact is one individual. Another example would be that a departmental printer isn't working. So the impact there are all of the users in the department. So what that impact and priority helps us do is drive service response and resolution times. So we have certain service level agreements that we meet in regards to responding to a ticket and then resolving the ticket based on the impact and priority. So that is one example. Another is the service request fulfillment, where in these cases something isn't broke, but a user is requesting access perhaps to a IT service. So some examples of this could be access to banner from an employee perspective, or a request for a new computer. So behind the scenes in service request fulfillment is a workflow that helps us define the process in regards to delivering those specific services. So incident management and service request fulfillment, those are just two examples, but those are ones that we see at the help desk quite often, and hopefully give you a better understanding of what the ITIL framework is. Okay, next. So being an IT service management department and following the best practices of ITIL, we are able to create operational efficiencies across IT and create more consistent customer service. So I guess a nice thing about the framework is when we are designing processes behind the scenes for fulfilling a certain request, think of a new computer, for example, there are things that have to be done across CTS, across the divisions within CTS. There's a network component, there's a security component, there's a purchasing component, there's an imaging component. And so there are different groups within CTS that take care of those individual tasks. And those are programmed on the back side. So every time a task is completed, it goes on to the next task. And that group of people responsible for fulfilling that task take it and fulfill that piece of it, and then it keeps going through this workflow. So by doing that, we create these operational efficiencies. Every computer request has the same process. Everybody knows what needs to be done for that process. Yes, there could be some service improvements here and there, and if so, we go back to the workflow and work those in, and then it's a consistent process again. And by having those consistent processes, we then are able to deliver more consistent and even customer service. Okay. So I mentioned in 2013, we started down this road of becoming an IT service management organization. And there are tools behind the scenes that help us with these processes and the ITIL framework. And the first application that we used was a product called ServiceNow. And it actually divides up, and in our view of it, divides up instance and service requests. And then there's change management, asset management, knowledge management. So there's a whole slew of things that the tool can help us do. So we started this journey back in 2013 with the implementation of ServiceNow. And in order for the whole IT organization to adopt this ITIL framework, we all had to get on the same page in regards to the terminology we were using, and also where things go. Well, is this particular call from the help desk or to the help desk an incident or a service request? So we needed to make sure we were all on the same page, speaking the same language. So Sean had us all go through ITIL foundations training, and that was a really great process. And we all actually became ITIL foundations certified. And that really helped us understand, ask questions to get us into this ITSM and ITIL framework. So just recently, we actually moved away from ServiceNow and transitioned to a product called TeamDynamix. It also uses all the ITIL principles and terminology. So this time around, the transition, at least from understanding of the framework, was easy. It was just differences in features and where to find things from our staff perspective. And many other SUNY schools are using it, so we get some good collaboration across SUNY. We are just starting the journey, so we just attended a conference back in November where there was quite a bit of discussion about TeamDynamix, so that was nice. Also, TeamDynamix includes a project management module. So ServiceNow had this too, but it was a little, at that time, it was a little too deep for where we were. Now we're at a point where the organization really is wanting to consolidate our project management methodologies into one tool. And this also allows Sean to get a really great glimpse into all of the projects that are happening within CTS, so he can report out on them. And we'll talk more about that later on. So then lastly, and the next slide here, if you have used the TeamDynamix service catalog, you have actually participated and seen some of our ITSM and ITIL framework. So if you go to our website at oswego.edu/CTS and click on the service catalog icon, you will see a lot of services we provide. And then you can request specific services. You can create new incidents tickets. You can search for knowledge. So you may be having an issue with your computer or a specific application. And we may have written up some helpful guides on how to use that or how to solve that particular problem. So there's a whole knowledge base component to it as well. And I can show that, Sean, if you want me to share my screen, or you could go to the website.
Let's see if it, yeah, why don't you do it, Nicole, although I might be on mute, hang on.
No,
Oh, you're good.
So I unshared, you can do it on your screen just because the way I had it set up. It's easier if you go and share it if you want to show it, okay?
Yep, I got it. Okay, so can you see the CTS website?
Got it.
Okay, great. So right in the middle is this icon called Service Catalog. And if you click on that, you are going to be introduced to TeamDynamix and the ITSM framework. And as you can see here, we have some buttons across the top to easily get to the places that you need to go to. Here's our knowledge base component. This is a request for a particular service. These are any tickets that you might have submitted through this service catalog or through the help desk. And here is a spot where you can submit a ticket yourself. So I wanted to just show the request to service And I'm going to pick a specific one. We're going to go into desktop and mobile computing, and then software and applications distribution, and then Adobe Creative Cloud. So Adobe Creative Cloud, it's a suite of applications that we have a specific number of licenses for. So we have to be careful. We can't just put it on every computer. So if a employee would like to request Adobe, they can do it through this service catalog. We also reserve a certain amount of employee licenses for students. So if a student, is unable to come to campus, aren't able to purchase Adobe, then they can request a license here as well. So if we click on one of these, you can see in the back, well, you can see up front that there are a specific number of questions here, and depending on how you answer these questions, it may open up more questions. And then once it's submitted, there is that workflow on the back end that creates a task for the people involved in fulfilling this request. So in every way, these are treated the same way. We have the same process. There's no interpretations of what to do. And then the delivery of the license is made to the student. So the service catalog really is our customers' front-facing way to interact with ITSM in our ITIL framework. Okay, so I'll hand it back to you, Sean.
Yeah, let me share the presentation again. Let's go. Because my screen sharing is paused. Stop share. Let me see.
It says you're sharing.
Yeah. Hang on. Technical difficulties. Let me stop my share. Where is our presentation? Oh, it's right there. Yeah. Okay.
There it goes.
Okay, I had to switch to that screen. Okay, so let's go over. Thanks, Nicole.
Yep.
Just to get us back on track here and in the flow. Like you've really gone over the ITSM and what we're trying to accomplish as a department in terms of being having excellence in service provisioning and service delivery. And I say we talked a lot about the back end, but certainly I would put a lot, and what isn't necessarily captured here is the people that we have and their commitment to excellence, and how you mentioned earlier how we've gone through and did training really on the back end of what IT service management is and how we're working towards working together as a unit, teamwork, but also being important and partners to everyone on campus who's delivering classes, doing the research, administration, and giving excellent services to our students. So a lot of that goes back to the next phase in terms of going towards ITSM for us is projects. Now, over the years, we've done projects in a variety of ways, and we'll go into that. But we just, first of all, give you a little bit of an overview of the number of projects that we have going on and where all of this fits in. So go ahead, Nicole. We'll start with projects in your unit.
Okay, so the first one, and this is really kind of all of CTS, we're working on a project management, and in TeamDynamix, there's a whole project management module. So we are working to try to understand the principles of project management and what works best for us, keeping it a little high level right now until we understand more of how to use the application and adopt the project management methodologies. And so so we've started this and we will continue down that path. We also are working on the SUNY Print Initiative. That is, we're co-partnering with the purchasing office for that. And our staff are really dedicated to getting this as good of a transition as we can get for folks. And then we have client management software that we're installing on all PCs and Macs. We used to use a product called Landesk, and we have switched to a product that is called Microsoft Endpoint Management, or Intune for PCs, and Jamf on the Macs. And we are putting this software on all of our devices so that we can manage them better for security reasons and also have inventory data. And then we are working with the library, partnering with them on introducing a laptop loan program for students who might have a broken device or is just in need of a laptop.
Before I switch to the next slide, let me just say, people who are interested in the SUNY Print Initiative might want to go back and see Nicole's and Karen Hurd's and Steve Denblecker's winter breakout session. I think it was from Tuesday, but it's back there and it's recorded as well. So you can go back and see that. Among the other client support projects we have that are really ongoing, but you don't necessarily see no results are, we're planning heavily for the Hewitt build out that'll be coming in. That'll start at some point in the late spring of 2025. And certainly the goal of the campus is to have classes offered there in the fall 2025 semester. But along with that is sub projects. I would say we're planning for moves into Hewitt, which are probably at this point we're looking at April to August of 25. And once we get people rolling out of Lanigan, I'm assuming we'll get people moving out of Mahar and into Lanigan in the same kind of time frame. And then we're also starting the early pre-planning for Lanigan and Penfield to begin. And actually, Liz had talked about that in our last session on the campus strategic planning and how that'll be starting in the upcoming year. We also have a number of classroom projects, and largely a lot of it is maintenance. At this point, there are a number of campuses, a number of classrooms that we've worked on in terms, come on in, Carrie. We got someone here, Nicole. This adds to the pressure. I just want to say.
Doubles the attendance.
Yeah. And so we do a lot of work. What we've done at the Syracuse campus is in the main office, we're improving the camera in there and the sound. But we're also we've developed a classroom which will handle high flex learning, with the idea someone can be teaching in Syracuse and be teaching in Oswego, and the students can be in either location. And we do have a high flex classroom here in Morano Campus Center. So really, when we think of the classrooms, we're looking at how we go and improve the technology to deliver the teaching methodologies that people are using. And certainly we talked about in the last strategic planning session, which was the one before this one, how we'll need to look at not only our campus infrastructure in the buildings, but also our technical infrastructure to go in to support more online teaching and more high flex opportunities. So enterprise projects. So I think of these as projects that we're doing really to support the administration of the campus. So right now, there's a number of them going on. So Campus CE stands for continuing education, And it is an application that we're looking to implement to support our non-academic micro-credentials and our student summer programs really for children, I want to think. So it really is an application that will really help run the business of extended learning. Another project that we're looking at is ways to prepare for larger numbers of transfers that we have. So when we think of the Vision 4040, to go and to double the number of graduates that we have here in 15 years from now, we're looking at maybe having 4 times the number of transfers that we have. Our current processes work very well for the quantity of students that we have, but we're going to have to go and implement more technology to improve and speed up the transfer equivalencies and to bring students in quicker. So we're working on a project with that includes as a partner enrollment and the registrar's office. So we're looking also, the Accessibility Services Office is looking to get a new application. It's called AIM, which stands for Accessibility Information Management System. So that's a project that will get rolling in February, I think, once we get, they've had some staffing changes that were just announced. Biz Library is an application that is being utilized to do the campus training, and it'll go and replace the Thompson Routers application that we've been using for the last few years. So that's a project with human resources. And then the other project, Preferred Name, Gender X, and Systems of Records. So this is something that came really down from the state and came down from SUNY, is how we're going to be offering, students would be able to go and implement and use the preferred name. So we'll do things inside Slate, but then how students can go and mark gender X inside the systems of record. So we have to go back and change a number of our background systems to go and to support that. So that's an example of a project that came down from SUNY. So we also have the digital services team, and they're in the middle of moving a series of web updates. So there's 2 components. That one is D7 means we're using Drupal 7 as our backend support, but we're moving to Drupal 10 for all of our services. So there's a component of moving the websites from this one backend application to another, which is Drupal 10. But then there is all the work that's being done to update the websites and keep the information current, as well as ensuring that the content's accessible. So that's a large project that really is years and years and consists of many sub-projects, because there's probably about 110 different, I would say, called websites on our overall website. And we are going and developing a president's website right now. There will be a couple more spin-offs of that. One will be a strategic planning website that will be coming in the next couple months. And then we'll have the president's inauguration website coming up, as that will be planned in September. We are also doing, and this is really a large focus of our work right now inside both digital services and the enterprise applications, is how we support enrollment. And Slate is a major tool that we're using to manage, and it's a client relationship management application that we use inside, that we use to go in to interact with all of the incoming students, whether they're in coming from the transfer equivalent, the transfer group, or they're just first year. But we also have about 4 years worth of information of students that have come in, and we're looking at multiple ways to use Slate to interact with the students and improve our engagement inside there. We also need to change our mobile platform And then the last component is a project really that we're only in the requirements phase and looking at how we can improve our data and analytics support. Right now, I think like we do a lot of good work in terms of reporting. The IR department is amazing in terms of what they do, but we would like to next move to visualization of the data, and we started implementing Tableau as our tool to do that. We've had some early pilot projects to go and to share, largely around the strategic priorities of enrollment and student success. And we've built out a number of visualizations inside there, but we'll have more as we go through. And I think it'll be an important part of the strategic planning as we move forward. And then we have a series of infrastructure and then the cybersecurity projects that we have. And again, this is really just a subset of what we're working on. So there's a number of academic and network upgrades that we'll be doing over the summer to keep our network functioning well and up to date. Among those items, really the lifetime of those that equipment is generally around 7 years. There has been a period of time during the pandemic where we haven't upgraded our network equipment, largely because there weren't people on campus for a while. Now it's coming time to go and do some large upgrades. So we'll need to do some real planning inside that. Another infrastructure project that I don't have on the list is a new backup system, which will be going in the summer. So these are projects really that are in the background and people don't see. The move to Banner. So we are the last SUNY campus that hosts it on-prem, and we are going to be the last one to move off. So Geneseo just went live, I think. Actually, they're going live on Tuesday, the day after Martin Luther King Day, and they've moved. And probably in about 9 months, we'll move our instance to iTech. So there's pros to doing it, there are cons to doing it, but really, I think for the long-term planning of what is best for us, we'll go and do that. The third project is moving from Cylance to CrowdStrike. John, you'll love this, but I'm not sure that you will love it in the end. But I'll just say we are going to move off of Cylance in about 7 or 8 months and move to what SUNY has determined and the state of New York has determined we're all going to use, which is CrowdStrike. So this will be a large project, I think, for all of us, and we'll have to either virtually touch or physically touch every PC on campus to go and implement that. And then there's really a number of cybersecurity projects, and Nicole already touched on our MFA projects that we're doing to ensure that we're implementing, multi-factor authentication, which is the leading manner of ensuring that people don't break into our systems. But we're going to focus on departmental emails over the next 6 to 9 months and look to implement them in a different way. Departmental emails are really an important part of ensuring that there's continuity inside of a department. But the issue with them right now is that we don't have multi-factor authentication implemented on them. So we'll be looking at putting in a couple of strategies to ensure that they're secured and how we use them. So that's not all of our projects, but I think that gives a good background in terms of the number of projects that we have going on. And it's funny, even when I go and list them down, it seems like, wow, we've got a lot going on. And we do have a lot going on. And the way that we've always managed them, I'd say, is a combination of informal and formal project management. The one thing I would say is, like, we have great people and we always seem to get things done on the deadlines that they're required in. And so some projects have a very formal process. So the construction and when we move and large enterprise applications, they'll have detailed plans in terms of how we're going to go and do it. So when I think of, as an example, the move into Hewitt, that's a project that we've been working on for about 4 years, I would say. And we have a couple of staff that work a lot of their time. So Tyrone Johnson Newland is our project manager on construction moves. So he has been intimately involved in terms of the construction of the building, the networking that's going to go in there, the technology that's going to go into classes, conference rooms, labs, studios. And he's done a lot of the planning in terms of the cost and the purchasing of doing them. So this is a large project. If we get to the move parts down the line, we will have detailed plans in terms of who's going to move, where they're going to go. We'll see where, if people are going to be moving into new spaces. There's been times where we've had to do construction projects before the moves to go to do that. I don't think that's going to be the case in this instance, but we'll be very detailed. So I'll also say when we look at some of our large enterprise applications, so when I look at what we're doing in transfer equivalencies, right now we're in the inquiry phase of how we're going to go and do that project, and we're costing it out. So we'll have a detailed business case analysis in terms of what the cost of this project is going to be, because it won't be insignificant. There'll be a number of ongoing costs that we'll need to take on in terms of doing it. And when is the best time to go and to implement that? And when are we going to reach the tipping point of where we're not going to be able to operate efficiently in terms of the number of transfer equivalencies and enough time to go and have the project done so we're prepared for that day. And then there's other projects that are smaller that are a little bit more informal. I will say there's another project. So when I think of our move from ServiceNow to TeamDynamix as an ITS for our ITSM, which Nicole discussed at the beginning, that was really as part of the project implementation. We worked with our third-party vendor, which is TeamDynamix, who really acted as the project manager. And they have detailed plans in terms of how to go and move a organization from one application into the other. So in essence, when we bought the application, we bought the project, we bought this project management, so someone to go and to keep us on track and implement. And using their experience is really important. So I think of that too as something that we often buy in terms of the when we have enterprise applications. So there's going to be an application that Student Affairs is bringing in called Campus Groups, which is going to replace the one that they have right now for Laker Life. Thank you, John. So it's going to become the new Laker Life. And we're going to feature that at CTAB, John, on February 9th. So we're going to have that there. But that was a company, we dealt with them. They took us through the process of moving from the old system into the new one, and we'll go and do that. And then there is, I'll just say, the digital service team and Rick Buck's team really does a lot of agile project management. The difference between, so generally a construction project is waterfall. In essence, like we go from one area of project management, one task to another. We do as many as we can in parallel, and everything is mapped out. With agile development, that is where a team will go and plan out anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks in advance, see what their priorities are, and go and set some goals for the next 2 weeks, and go and bring in new services inside this ever-changing ecosystem that you'll see. So that is something that really Google will do. And you'll notice with Google Gmail, for instance, just one day some new program shows up, and it's not like it was we didn't necessarily know it happened, or new component or new service inside of it. And this is how they would go and develop, and in essence keep the application always changing. So we really have a mix of both. And the other thing I'll say is right now projects come in multiple manners. So they might come in externally, so from government law. So for instance, right now there's a new law that is coming in on the way that financial aid is going to be implemented. It went into effect on January 5th. We're unable to handle our financial aid items right now because Lucian and Banner are updating their backend. So really every software application is going through this. We should be good and ready to go. I think probably by Tuesday. But this is a new law that came in. It's got to be top priority to go and to get these items. And so SUNY mandate is another area. And I already talked about the gender X, that we're doing and the way we handle preferred names. We have the campus priorities. Certainly, I would say when we get to next summer, there's really nothing more important than getting people into Hewitt, into Lanigan, out of Mahar. So we'll go and work inside those items. And then we would have a number of internal projects that we need to do. So some are to go into what we talked about, we need a new backup system, we need to keep the infrastructure going, and then we need to make service and system improvements. Right now, the way that we prioritize projects is really when the federal and state laws are made and we're given a deadline, we get them done. And when SUNY mandates something, so I would look at the digital learning environment as an example. That project became a top priority as we went and did something and coming out of the pandemic. That was a lot of work, and that was we didn't really have a choice in terms of when we could do it. We could have probably pushed it back another year, but that would have been very costly to do it. And our campus was ready to go and wanted to really move to the next one. We have our campus priorities, as I mentioned earlier, and then we have the technology requirements, ensuring that we stay up to date. And I will say, like the cybersecurity requirements are top of mind when we do it, because ensuring that we keep the campus safe and secure will save us lots of time. When you have a downtime because of a cybersecurity incident, it is going to be extremely time consuming and it's going to impact us a lot. So it's important that we go and do those items. And then the fifth item, but we often, and we do a lot of these, is how we go and focus on student success, DEI, and enrollment. And we're doing a lot of projects inside those areas. I'm cognizant of the time, Jeff. So when we look at a project, when we start to analyze whether we want to do it, we want to make sure we have a solid business case for the project. And depending on the size of the project and the quantity of money something like this is going to cost, that'll dictate the the formality of the business case that we do, and really in essence who would need to go and approve. Some projects we do go right to President's Council and give a full idea of what the business case is, why we want to do it, and the funding that's going to be required, because it needs that kind of input, and they're not necessarily cheap, some of these projects. So the other one is a stakeholder commitment, because very few of the projects we do are for ourselves, for CTS. And actually those projects tend to be the ones that get kicked down the line. They're like the shoemakers, kids projects, they get put off to the end. But when we go and do a project, it really takes a tremendous commitment from the stakeholders to go and to learn this new system and be involved. And so I would just say, like the DLE project, we had tremendous commitment from several groups of stakeholders, one being those implementing the project. I think of Carrie here and all the instructional designers and the work, and Kathy Dutton, but also the faculty needed to commit to go and to do it. Now, they didn't have much choice, but they did really go and dig in, and it's really important. I think of when we go and put in this new micro-credential, non-academic micro-credential program for our campus CE, we're going to need a tremendous support, and we have it right now from extended learning to go and to be, to go and to get that done. We're gonna have tight deadlines because procurement takes forever. So clear deliverables in terms of what we want to accomplish. And I think of that as not in just getting the application up and running, but what we want to accomplish by implementing the whole project and putting the new system in, and how we're going to get value out of it. And the last thing is, how is it going to go and be implemented? And once we get the project done and we hand the application over, how is the end user going to implement it? How are we going to go and handle maintenance of these areas? What kind of investment is going to be needed as we go down the line? So we try to think ahead in terms of all of these items. Project prerequisites. So I would just say, and I just touched on this, software and application procurements are lengthy procedures in SUNY schools. Procurement is taking a long time on all of these items, and it really is slowing us down. But we are also going to focus on the cybersecurity aspects. Like when we look at projects, we look at what kind of data we're sharing with our third-party companies to get them up and running, and what kind of risk that brings to our institution if they get hacked. Then, of course, the accessibility component of the applications, and how are we going to be ready to use? Or are we going to need to focus on workaround? And then the departmental commitment to resources. And I would say right now we're working on improving our project management methodology. And I'm going to give Nicole the last 2 minutes to talk about this.
So as I mentioned early on, we are really focused as a department on project management and CTS, and really unifying the way that we handle projects and work through them. And TeamDynamix has that component to it that will allow us to do that. We are very much like we all went through ITIL training. We are all going through project management training. We had our first session this past Wednesday and another one this coming Wednesday. So that will, again, allow us to understand all of the principles together and understand the terminology. So right now, that is something that we're working through. And once we get more confident in using the tool and doing more of the projects within the tool, we will share it more widely with the campus. And, we just don't work with we work with ourselves, but we also work with our partners on campus, and it would be great for them to get visibility into the tool as well. And it also allows us to organize our projects into portfolios. I mentioned earlier that this really allows Sean to do some reporting, and especially resource allocation, how long certain projects are taking, how long we expect that they will take, and where they currently are sitting in the project. So the portfolios are a really nice way of organizing all the various different projects. And last one. So again, the TeamDynamix will allow us to hopefully, allow us to not necessarily stop using documents and spreadsheets. There may be specific use cases for those, but those would be tied in to the TeamDynamix tools in some way. And that will, the whole process of us going through this and unifying how we're doing project management will help us streamline all of our projects, and especially those ones that are required to make the Vision 4040 a reality. 2 minutes over.
Thank you, Nicole. John, Carrie, any questions?
No.
No? Well, thank you for attending and listening. Thanks, Nicole. It was great working for this. And this will be a good basis of when we go, and we'll be talking more about project management, I think, in various venues. So we will stop now, and John can prepare for his 11 o'clock session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.